Hey guys, welcome back. Today I thought it was time for another tag video. If you guys remember, back around this time last year, I think it was back in June, I created the Drugstore Makeup Tag, and that one kind of exceeded my expectations. I never expected so many other creators here on YouTube to do that one, and it was so much fun listening to everybody's favorite drugstore products and least favorite, because drugstore is where my heart is. When it comes to makeup, I love drugstore, as you guys know. It's what I started out using, and it's what I've really used for most of my life, and I think these days it's just gotten so good that it's often indistinguishable from higher end makeup. So today's tag is also about drugstore makeup, but instead of focusing more on the products like my last one did, today we're going to focus on drugstore brands. So I have a list of 10 different questions. So let's go ahead and jump right in, and we'll start with the first one, which is what drugstore brand has the best packaging and like those luxury vibes? And I am gonna have to go with Milani on this one. I just think they've always done really nice packaging, even back when drugstore packaging was terrible. They had like those beautiful rose blushes, and I also think their eyeshadow palettes, while the formula isn't my favorite, I do really like the design of them. I like cardboard palettes as opposed to the plasticky palettes that you get at drugstores, because I just think those look a little bit more cheap, and the cardboard packaging is just really slim and sleek. It's easy to store, and even when Milani does do plastic packaging, I like how they add like the black and gold detail, and it just kind of elevates everything and makes it look a little bit more high end. So overall, I really think Milani's products are just beautiful to look at, and I would say most of them, with the exception of the new eyeshadow formula, are also very luxurious and high end as well. All right, so moving on to question number 2, this is the flip side of it, which is what drugstore brand has the worst packaging? So when I first was putting this question together, in my mind, I was thinking about what packaging looks cheap as opposed to like Milani looking more luxurious. But then when I thought about it some more, I think a lot of the drugstore brands packaging looks cheap. I can't single one out in particular that is, you know, more cheap looking than the rest. I think they all kind of are that way, but at the same time, I think that's where they save their money and where they can save us money, because what matters to me is the formula inside versus the packaging. I know, you know, I love good packaging as much as the next person, and it makes me feel good to open a beautiful compact or something. But again, I think if you're trying to save money, the formula inside is really what counts. So when I think about the worst packaging at the drugstore, I thought about other things besides cheapness that bothered me, and I did come up with something, and that is just hard to use or bulky packaging. And the brand that I think is most guilty of this is Physicians Formula. So Physicians Formula loves their bulky packaging. You have the butter bronzers and the butter blushes that just have these big, thick, chunky containers that for me are a little bit harder to store. I have all my blushes in a drawer, and those take up like an entire row, whereas other blushes, you know, I could fit so many more in the same space. Also, their cream highlighters come in like these kind of thicker, chunkier pots, which aren't quite as bad as the butter bronzer and blushes, but they're still a little bit on the bigger side. And then you have their palettes. So many of their palettes have like a little perfume included or mascara or something that makes them really thick and really chunky and just like a big box. And I am not a fan of those either. I wish that they would just kind of cut all of that out and just go for more sleek and slim packaging that's really easy to store. Another thing that they do that I'm not a fan of are those mascaras that have like the little leaf design. I mean, they're cute and I get it because it's the organic wear line, but at the same time, those leaf tops are just really difficult to hold. When I'm trying to put mascara on, I just feel like I don't have a good grip on it. So for me, Physicians Formula definitely has the worst packaging at the drugstore. Okay, so number 3 is what brand makes me want to buy everything or like is the most exciting? This was hard because I do get excited about quite a few different drugstore brands, but I have to go with Flower Beauty on this one. And the reason for that is just that in the past, all of their products have been so high quality that I know that I'm gonna like them. And so when they do their releases, which usually I feel like they do releases a couple times a year, whereas brands like e.l.f., let's say, are releasing much more often, much more frequently, and they'll just release a couple products at a time. Whereas Flower, they tend to release a whole bunch of stuff all at once, and it can be both overwhelming and very exciting at the same time. And I just want to buy everything when that happens because I just see so many cool things that I want to try. And again, I know that they're going to be good. I mean, it's rare that I don't like a Flower beauty product. There's been a few, but overall, you know, the overwhelming majority have just been such good quality and just really work for me and my personal taste and my needs. So yeah, I have to go with Flower on that one. Number 4, what is the most boring drugstore brand? So this was kind of a tie between, for me, Neutrogena and Almay. It's kind of hard to pick one over the other. I feel like they're equally boring to me, and the reason for that I think is just because they don't release a lot. And while I think too many releases are a negative thing, I also think that not enough releases causes people to just forget that you even exist. And not only that, I do think a lot of their products are pretty good quality, but there's just something that's not exciting about them. They're not trendy. The packaging isn't really exciting and the colors aren't exciting. I think they're just a very like boring and basic brand. And I do know plenty of people in my life that aren't makeup obsessed like me who absolutely love Neutrogena and Almay. But I think for those of us who are in the makeup world and, you know, they're just not as exciting as they could be, I guess. Number 5 is what drugstore brand is the most inclusive? So this one for me was pretty easy, and they're not a traditional drugstore brand here in the US, but in Europe they are in drugstores like Superdrug, and they also are in the drugstore section of Ulta here. And that would be Makeup Revolution. I think Makeup Revolution does such an amazing job with inclusivity as far as amazing shade ranges for their foundations and their concealers, and I mean, even everything. They just have amazing shade ranges. And then on top of that, I think just in their marketing, and one thing that Revolution is doing that a lot of other brands are not, is including women and men that are older, like over 40. And that's, I mean, I don't see that in most other makeup marketing. So if you go on their Instagram, you actually see like women who are maybe in their 50s and their 60s even, and they're absolutely gorgeous. So yeah, I just think they do an amazing job at including everybody from all races, all genders, all ages. So yeah, I have to commend Makeup Revolution for that. I don't always love every product that they come out with, but when it comes to inclusivity, they're definitely number 1 for me. Number 6 is what drugstore brand have I been using the longest? That would be CoverGirl for sure. When I was growing up, we didn't have Sephora, we didn't have Ulta, and my mom really wasn't into makeup that much, so she wasn't the type to go to the mall and go to the makeup counter. So really my only exposure to makeup was, again, like either at the drugstore or at the grocery store. When we would go grocery shopping, I used to beg my mom to just go in the beauty aisle, and I would stand there in front of all the displays, and really they only had like CoverGirl, Maybelline, and L'Oreal, and that was about it. And my mom used a lot of CoverGirl, so when I was like 11 or so, she let me buy a CoverGirl lip slicks. I think they were called lip slicks, and they were just kind of like a tinted balm, but they had this really frosty appearance to them, and I was so excited. That was definitely my first makeup purchase. I remember it so well. And then once I got a little bit older, I did go back to CoverGirl again because that's what my mom was using and that's what she had in the bathroom. So sometimes I would test out some of her products and then wash it off quick before she could see me. So yeah, and I still use CoverGirl today, and I like a bunch of their products. So definitely the longest running brand in my makeup collection. Okay, so number 7 is what affordable online only brand would you love to see in drugstores? So my first thought for this one was ColourPop, but then I realized that they are actually in Ulta stores, so I didn't want to go with them because technically I can go to the store and buy it in person. I don't have to order it online. So other than them, I would say Moira Cosmetics, and they're a brand that I've discovered pretty recently, but I have liked everything from them. They have beautiful eyeshadow palettes with a great formula. Their blushes are to die for. They are so pigmented and super long lasting. They have these little cream eyeshadows that remind me of the ColourPop Super Shocks that are awesome as well. So if they were in drugstores, I would just go crazy. I would be in there every day, probably like trying to buy something new, because I just really enjoy them a lot and the prices are so good. I really wish that drugstores would start stocking more of these indie brands because they are just so much fun. Number 8 is what drugstore brand surprised me in a good way. For this one, I put Believe Beauty. When I first was contacted by Believe Beauty, it was before they launched, and I got an email about this brand that was going to have everything under $5, and it was going to be sold at Dollar General. And they asked if they could send me some products, and I was like, okay, sure, but I really wasn't expecting much out of it. And when they came, I mean, I was blown away by everything I tried, from the foundation to the cream blushes. The eyeshadows are amazing. The lip products, everything was so, so good, and everything is under $5. So I would say Believe has definitely been the biggest surprise for me at the drugstore. But then come to find out a little while later that their parent company is Mesa, who also has Flower Beauty. So then for me, it wasn't a big surprise that the products were high quality. Okay, so number 9 is what is the best, most affordable drugstore brand? This one was tough, but I had to go with Essence because I think Essence quality, again, is so amazing, and they have a lot of products that, again, are under $5 that are dupes for high-end products, and like solid dupes, like their brow gel. That's such a good dupe for the Benefit one. Their mascaras are amazing. Their lip products are fantastic. The blushes are such amazing quality. Even their eyeliners and lip liners and just little things like that. So it's almost like, why would you pay more even for a more expensive drugstore product when you can get everything with Essence so cheaply and it's such good quality? So they are definitely my favorite, most affordable brand. And then last but not least, question number 10 is what drugstore brand has improved the most? And definitely, no question, I would go with e.l.f. on this one. I remember back when e.l.f. first launched, it was a long time ago. I think I might have still even lived home with my parents. I was probably in my 20s. And that was back when everything was $1. And my sisters and I would go on e.l.f.'s website and we would order like a ton of different things to try. It was so much fun just to get that much makeup for so little money. But the quality wasn't the greatest. I mean, it was okay. It was better, I guess, than we kind of expected for $1, but it wasn't the greatest. So I just think they've come such a long way. I mean, their prices are still really good. They're not $1, but I think that they've done a good job at keeping their prices relatively low, except for the new CC cream. I feel like that was a little bit more expensive, but for the most part, you can still get things for the $5, $6 range, and that's still really cheap compared to other drugstore brands. And I think the quality is just so fantastic. There's so many favorites that I have from e.l.f., from eyeshadow palettes to lip products to blushes. I just think they've come so far from where they started. So e.l.f. for me would definitely be the most improved drugstore brand. All right, guys, so those are all the questions I have. I would love to hear from you down in the comments below. I'd love to hear what your answers are to some of these questions, or whether you agree or disagree with my choices. Also, if you are a YouTuber out there and you're watching this and you would love to do this tag, I would love it if you would do it. Definitely don't forget to tag me in it so I don't miss out on watching your video. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. As always, I appreciate it so much that you just take some time out of your day to spend it here with me. And if you like this video, don't forget to hit the thumbs up button. And also, if you're not subscribed to my channel and you love drugstore makeup and you love dupes, definitely hit that subscribe button before you go. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you in my next one. Take care, guys. Bye.